This is on. Good. Welcome. I am Dawn Carter. I'm with the School of Business. I'm the industry liaison, and Dr. Gramling was going to be here to welcome you all, who's the dean, but he's not feeling well tonight, and so I get to sub in. Woo. Thanks for coming to Faith and Enterprise. This is I think we do them about twice a semester, time where students get to hear from people that are out in industry, how they are either applying technology or doing things that might be of interest to you. You know, a lot of times you're sitting in classes and sometimes that connection between, well, how does this work out in the real world? This is one of the ways that we can expose you to sometimes careers or industries, career paths you might not have thought of. So I want to welcome you, and I'm going to go ahead and pray us in, and then I will introduce our moderator for the evening. So let's close our eyes and pray. Father, I thank you so much for tonight. I thank you for the chance that we have to get together and learn. I thank you that you created us as curious beings. I pray, Father, for your blessing tonight, that you would help us learn, that the speakers would have a sense of joy, and that you would just put your hand of blessing on this evening. In your Son's name, amen. All right, and I will now welcome to the stage Dr. Tad Hove, and he is our Associate Dean for the Management Division, and here he is.
All right, thank you. Thank you very much, Dawn. I'm going to have the three guest speakers come up and have a seat, and then I will read off your bios here. I'm going to fast forward, if you will, because I want you to be able to see this question code. So I'm going to be asking the panel several questions, and I would like to really get some questions from the audience. So if you go on the QR code there, you can ask your questions. You don't have to do it right this second, but I'm going to leave it up there so it allows you to be able to ask questions that may come up throughout the conversations that we have tonight. Okay, so I'm going to start with Mr. Sanchez here to my left. Angel Sanchez Jr. is the CEO and servant leader of Phenix Technologies, Incorporated, a Riverside-based public safety equipment manufacturer driven by the core value of leave the world a better place. He fosters a family-oriented culture within his organization. Under his leadership, Phenix has experienced exponential growth in sales and profitability while prioritizing a business culture centered around love. A recipient of the 2018 Presidential E Award from the U.S. Department of Commerce, Phenix Technology collaborates with various organizations to provide opportunities for neurodiverse candidates. Angel also is a CBU alum. Graduating magna cum laude, we know what those three Latin words, if we've never taken Latin before, that's a pretty good thing, with a bachelor's degree in 2008. Let's give a round of applause for Mr. Sanchez. To his left, your right, I'd like to introduce Cancerina Cornea. Good? Okay. All right. I've been practicing that all day. Okay. Cancerina is a senior solution engineer for education at ESRI with 20 years of geospatial technology, recognized globally as a leading authority on ARGIS 4 server. That's pretty big stuff there. When we're recognized globally, that's not an easy task, so good job. Cancerina has extensive knowledge of client-server architecture, database design, and web development using ESRI technology. Now, I just want to make sure we're not leaving anybody out. Does everybody know about ESRI? Is there anybody here that doesn't know who ESRI is? Okay, that's good. That's good. So well worn through there. Okay, here we go. After working with ESRI for more than a decade, she relocated to Singapore and served as technical manager for the Asian Pacific region. Today, she works closely with regional users to shape their technology skills so they can get the most out of the ARGIS platform. Cancerina holds a bachelor's of landscape architecture from Bogor. Okay, I'm batting 1,000. Agricultural University in Indonesia, and a Master's of Landscape Planning from the University of South Wales. So you can tell that this young lady is very well traveled. Can I get a round of applause for Cancerina? Thank you. And last but not least, Mr. Mark Cloud, on the far left here, your far right, is a government affairs manager at Southern California Edison. He began his career as Director of Communication for the ARC of Riverside County, an organization that provides services and advocacy for people with developmental disabilities. That's right here in the Riverside area. He joined Southern California Edison after several years at Riverside Public Utilities. In his current role, he manages public affairs for 8 cities across Southern California. He also manages strategic relationships with local and civic and political leaders while communicating with stakeholders on complex issues such as wildfires and large utility projects. With a master's degree from Cal State San Bernardino, we had to say that, Mark also earned a bachelor's degree at CBU in 2005. So again, another alum. Let's give Mark a round of applause. Thank you. All right. The moment you all been waiting for. I'm going to sit down here. Again, I want to remind you, I'm going to be asking the panel some questions, but please feel free to go ahead and go on the QR code and log in some questions of your own. Okay. Angel, let's start out with you. I think they're all live. Let's make sure that happens first. We're good? Okay. How do you use technology and analytics in your current career? And how have analytics skills helped you in your particular position?
So we're a little bit different because our manufacturing is still somewhat of a manual process. Really how we look at technology is in the development of people. So at Phenix, our core focus is better people, better products, better world. Better people looks at 3 phases. It's an academic approach, it's a spiritual approach, and it's creating an environment which kind of fulfills the well-being, physical and mental. That's where analytics really comes into place and where we use technology. And so whether it's an algorithm that sends out employee, we call them family member satisfaction survey, and that feeds into understanding joy in the workplace. Dashboards that we do. So we have quarterly reviews, which is kind of unusual for a manufacturing business. And those aren't, you did bad reviews. Those are what we can celebrate in the development. So we apply it really to that better people much more than some of the other areas. I mean, we do have $80,000 scanners and things like that are used, but I think the people element is most important.
Perfect. Thank you very much. Cancerino, what advice would you give business students on developing technology and analytical skills?
Well, technologies keep changing. So let me tell first my role here as a solution engineer, what I'm doing as a solution engineer. So I need to have the capability to analyze what the client needs first. And then after that, I have to have the expertise and also have to have the analytical thinkings. And I bring probably the technology that you haven't heard before. It's called location intelligence. So this is something that some people call it geographic information system, but business schools normally, or businesses call it location analytics. That means that you do the analytic using the locations as your data. Okay? And this is very, very powerful. This is the one that's a lot of the clients that we have this looking for the skill that especially business school students that know how to incorporate location data into the analytics. Okay? So that's the one that I encourage you if you like something that you're probably good in MBA, you may be good in marketing, but if you know how to do the spatial thinking, location thinking, and add it into your advantage, then you probably stand out more into the technology and doing the analytics. Okay? And the beauty of this is because, thank you for inviting me, and I think I get invited because now our technology from ESRI, which is we are the software company that bringing the business analytic, is now you can access it the whole campus. And business school is one of the first that actually doing the spatial analytics in their course as well. Okay.
Yeah, great. Thank you so very much. All right, Mark, describe your career journey with learning analytics and how valuable did you believe these skills would be for your early days in your career?
Yeah, interestingly, I'm very much in a field that is very qualitative in nature, is very much people-focused. So actually, I personally don't use a lot of data analytics, but the company I work for, Edison Power Company, as you can imagine, is very, very tech-centered and very, very driven by analytics. So we're pulling in data from all over the place all the time and synthesizing that data to make good decisions about how to roll out the grid. And so while I'm not using it as much, I work with people who are much smarter than I am and can actually do that work. Having said that, of course, you cannot be a professional today without dealing with analytics and data, because we're able to count things now like we've never been able to before thanks to technology. So we're counting things and we're synthesizing the data and figuring out how to make the best decisions off that collection of information. I would say that I actually do use data analytics a lot more as like my little side hustle, entrepreneur. This has nothing to do with Edison, but I do use a lot of data every single day when I use, I do a lot of e-commerce work. I do a lot of direct-to-consumer product sales to people all over the world, and I use data from those services a lot. Mainly, how many things did I sell today, and how much am I getting from it? But of course, I'm using all kinds of analytics to help me to determine who's buying my stuff around the world, what part of the country are my things being purchased in, and how can I improve and increase sales using that information. So I do use data analytics. I do crunch data. Not as much in my day job, but I do on the side. Anybody have a side hustle here, by the way? I know it's kind of like an old term now, probably. It's been around for 5 years. You do. That's great. Yeah. That's the way to go, seriously.
All right. Thank you very much, Mark. So I'm gonna throw another one back at you there. So if you were a business student today and knew what you know now, would you take a technology or analytics class?
Absolutely. Now, I went here 20 years ago. I just realized walking up these stairs, and I kind of got depressed. When I was here, my hair was dark, and I was just a happy C student. Just kidding. So when I was here, it was hard to have a conception of what was coming, because at that time, YouTube was really not even popular yet, and we were still using, like CBU email was new at the time. I remember getting a CBU email address, and like, wow, this is really advanced. So of course now, we're a world away from that. So 100% absolutely, if there's a course like that available, I would say take it, because you're going to learn a lot, and you're going to be able to apply the lessons right away. Having said that, I've learned a lot about these topics on my own, doing things like reading books, listening to podcasts, watching YouTube videos. I'm sure you all do the same thing. That's how I stay on top of all these trends, and the trends are changing all the time. And so if you want to look at some interesting applications of how data is being used in companies, look at Google, for example. There's a lot of books on how Google uses data and how they, for example, rely on KPIs, right? That's why I learned about KPIs, was from a book on Google. So I would say, if you're interested at all in these subjects, learn about it in class, of course, but also start listening to podcasts, start watching YouTube videos. You'll learn so much about this stuff, and you'll be a pro before you even get the job. So yeah, do it.
All right. Thanks again, Mark. Kansrina, as we look at the future, how do you see business careers for the next decade? And do you believe business people will use technology and analytics skills regardless of their position?
Oh, thank you. Absolutely. I cannot emphasize more and more is business now is going into the technology and analytics. It's because it's driven by the advancement of the technology and also the availability of the data. There's a lot of businesses make decisions by data-driven decision. Okay, the more the data that they see, not only like the data of the customer like that, but data that's streaming all the time. Evil people movement, where this person go from one location to another. Location. That's the also data. Okay? So that's the one that actually, as a lot of decision is based on the data. If you do not know how to do the analytics, that's you will be behind. You're probably behind on the ChatGPT. ChatGPT is all doing analytics with the data, so we have to be smarter than that. So you're the one that you actually doing smarter than ChatGPT on doing the analytics. So I really thinking like, do learn the field that you have. Maybe you are in marketing, maybe you are in supply chains, but do as well the analytic that's supporting that. Okay, so like for example, location analytic, you probably want to see where is the customer are located. Then after that, you see their pattern, you see their movement, and see where is the trend. So our customer, I mentioned probably one of them, Edison is our customer as well.
Yeah, that's right. I was going to say, we
they
love
mapping,
ESRI. We use
right?
it all the time.
So they mapping the customer. They mapping where is the out stage as well. They're mapping where is the problem. They're messaging like where is the connection in here. So they're doing that. But in business, like I mentioned, probably one is the coffee shop. They put where are the store, which one that actually perform better than the other. What is the demography of that area? Then they predict another area to open a new one based on the success for the previous area. So that kind of things is a lot demand on the market. You did the spatial thinking, location intelligence, and you will be get hired easily because they are in demand, especially from businesses. It's a lot like even Walmart send their employee to learn location intelligence. Okay, so.
Perfect. Thank you very much. How many entrepreneurs do we have out there in the audience? Can you raise your hands there?
Not just one. Oh,
No,
two,
there's got to be
Should
more
be
than
all
one.
of you, actually.
Should
Come
be a
on,
lot
don't
of
be shy. I think we're all entrepreneurial spirit. But wouldn't it be great to know where your next customers are coming? Wouldn't it be great to know what they want, what they're looking for, and all you got to do is supply it? I mean, what a great thing great piece of knowledge to have. All right, Mr. Sanchez, I have one more question for you, sir. Please describe how your Christian ethics guide your use of technology and analytics.
Yeah, absolutely. So we obviously have a great degree of data and analytics that we use, whether it's analysis for root cause analysis or heat mapping for where customers are and stuff like that. But I purposely mentioned the better people aspect in looking at how we can become better people. I like to say that Phenix is an organization that develops people, and we fund that through making the best helmets in the world. But really the important part of that is what can we do for the people within the organization so that academically they grow. It was mentioned in my bio, which I need to give a raise to whoever sent that over because that made me sound really good. But we have an Opportunity for All program where we work with a neurodiverse community. That's people with autism, Asperger's, Down syndrome, things like that. And we apply technology in how to teach. They all utilize technology. Everybody in our company has either a tablet or a computer that is guiding them through their day. And from a spiritual perspective, really everything we're doing is surrounded around love and caring in the workplace, which is not something you're typically going to hear from a CEO. We talk about it on a regular basis. Like it's so important to me that if I have two people in the organization that don't get along, and we've done this twice, we'll hire a marriage and family therapist to come in and talk to them and try to work it out. And in one case, it didn't work out. In the other case, they're actually really good friends now. If you don't love each other, you can't work there. And a lot of that has to do with my spirituality and my belief that it's humans over profit. It's people over profit. And the profit comes. So when I look at my leaders, so the people that report to me, they get judged on really 5 things. The bottom line I judge myself on, but they get judged on alignment, personal growth, satisfaction, happiness, and a net promoter score. That comes off of those surveys, those family member surveys. And if those scores are below, not our industry, but below all industry averages, then that's where we have counseling discussions because people should be happy. I mean, think about it. All of you are going to enter the workforce if you're not already there real soon, and it's going to be the thing that you do more than anything else, and it shouldn't suck. 40 hours a week, 50 hours a week, 60-hour weeks if you go into business, entrepreneurs, 100 hours a week, you shouldn't hate what you do. It should actually be one of the more enjoyable things. And so we're doing everything we can using data to ensure that we're doing that because of the spirituality that we have in leadership and even for somebody that's starting with a company. So hopefully that kind of makes sense.
So we know as professors, I have professors over here? Yeah, I do. We know as professors that some of the most challenging things that we have to do in the classroom is to get you guys to work in teams. So how many of you, raise your hands, would like to have Angel's model in your team class assignments so that you can actually work together as teams and actually deliver your assignments without hating each other or looking down when you pass each other in the hallway? Does that sound like a good idea? Should we implement that in the classroom? Amen. Can I get amen out of that one? All right, here we go. Okay, so what I'd like to do now is to take a peek at some of the questions that you guys have submitted in the QR code.
We have is, do you believe attending CBU helped you get to where you are? And then also to follow up with that part 2 is, do you believe you'd be where you are now if you hadn't gone to CBU?
I'll take that one because in my bio, you mentioned the Arc of Riverside County. I was an intern at this nonprofit while I was at CBU. And then when I graduated, which was, at the time, it was headquartered near here, the guy who ran it said, why don't you come work for us full time? Give me this big title, which I didn't own or deserve, or earn, I should say. It's called Director of Communications. The pay was not the Director of Communication level, but I still enjoyed having a job right out of college. It was great. So without question, CBU played an integral role in where I am today. I was at RCC. Actually, let me go back up a little bit. Without giving you too much detail, I was playing music. I was playing rock and roll 20 years ago, and I was trying. No, my hair wasn't long, but it was different colors. And I wasn't taking school very seriously. I almost got kicked out of RCC, to like give you an idea. And my brother and I, my twin brother, we would go there, and we would ditch school at RCC to go not to the beach or anywhere fun. We would ditch to go to Baker's. So we were making really bad decisions. Having said that, that's the context. My sister, who works here now at the front desk, her name is Amy Sisko. At the time, it was Amy Cloud. She was an admissions counselor at the time. She went and had kids, and now she's back into the working world. She got me into, as an admissions counselor, she used whatever power she had to get me into the campus with my low GPA. And after I transitioned into CBU, my grades went up, I took things seriously, I buckled down, and I finally graduated. And I went into graduate school, and here I am. So absolutely, without question, CBU played a major role in me not being a ditch digger. Thank you so much.
There you go. You all have hope now.
Can I add to that? Yeah, I want to add to that a little bit. I didn't have the rock and roll history, but I'm sure I had plenty of things that were very similar. I came from very basic means growing up, and college was not something we ever talked about. I was the first actually to graduate from college, and it just wasn't part of it. So, I graduated in 2008, and as you can tell from my lack of hair and gray hair, that was probably a little later in life. I went back to school, and it absolutely had an impact. I don't think so much on my career trajectory, as far as the money I made and things like that, but it had a lot to do with who I became as a person and as a leader. There's a lot that you get out of college that you don't realize. Math class, for example, you may be going to something that doesn't need math, but it teaches you how to think. All the other courses you take, I hope, in those group projects, you're learning how to work with others and how to communicate effectively. The most important thing you'll ever learn is the ability to work with others and communicate effectively. And I think a lot of those skills I enhanced and developed during the years I spent here at Cal Baptist. And this school has just got something special about it. It makes you a better person. And I modeled a lot of the company after those same core tenements because that's what really it's all about. Making money and all those things, don't get me wrong, I like going on vacation and I like doing all those nice things that money provides for you. But security, once you achieve that level, it's what you're doing with that beyond the financial means. What are you doing for your neighbors? What are you doing for your community? What are you doing for your family and friends? And I think that's what I got from CBU was really that sense of community. And granted, for both of us, CBU was much, much different back then, much smaller. But I think to this day, I still talk to people I went to school with and have relationships with. And the alumni are, I'll tell you that part too, is when you mention that you're a CBU alumni and there's another CBU alumni, there's obviously a little bit more attention paid to the dialogue.
Oh, yeah.
All right, question number 2. How can technology and analytics can be helpful for the business careers and opportunities?
How can the technology and the analytics can help us, right, with the business?
Yes.
Okay.
For
I think,
business careers.
yes, I think I mentioned it before already that what's a lot of the company is looking now is somebody that able to do the thinking, okay, to do the analytical thinking. In my domain is really, again, based on the location, that based on the spatial or space, where are things located and relate to each other. But the same of thinking is actually applied to many different industries. Anything that related to locations, using that spatial thinking. So in our technology, we've been using for helping with the climate change. With every disaster management, it would just be deploy all the technology. Nowadays, it's all about the social justice, social equity. All of them need to be mapped. The homelessness need also that. So it's a lot of the things that the one that you have in the thinking, that's the one that help you, especially business school, if you are business students, that if you have that, you can learn easily and finding the job. I have an example of, the demand is so high, I have an example, even the student is actually from geoscience, that geography. She even thinking that she want to become the scientist, oceanography scientist. But then she got hired by Fruit of Loom, retail company, and she is with the Bath and Body Works now. Why? She trained their data scientists how to incorporate the spatial thinking on that. Okay, and then we also have the computer science students as well. Now it's hired by the big insurance company, the New York insurance company, to teach also data scientists how to actually map their clients and then also do the analysis that predict the target market and everything. So what I message in here is, you can be in many different domains, you can learn many different fields, but the analytical thinking that you learn is the one that's gonna bring you into the job and make you stand out compared with just like you just using, learn MBA marketing, but do the more technology, keep up with technology, keep up with analytics, learn a lot of analytics, not only I keep talking about location, but other type of analytic as well. That's an asset. It's not only for job, but also for life. It's an asset for the technology and analytic.
Perfect. Thank you very much. So I'd like to add, I don't know how many of you know who I am outside of my title, but I got my master's degree here when this building wasn't here, an engineering building wasn't here. There was cows where the event center was. So nevertheless, a lot of things weren't here. Now, I want to add to what Ken Serena just shared with you. I got my undergrad in engineering. I started working at Qualcomm, and Qualcomm had hired engineers. Now, think through this. So Dr. Irwin Jacobs, a very smart individual, he took on engineers as a marketing tool. So he hired an entire engineering department as a marketing tool for his technology, which works in all of your phones. So talking from the phone, do I have any engineers in here? No? Okay. All right, I won't get too techy.
I saw one right back there on the monitor.
Okay, behind the monitor, you stay over there.
Yeah, the tech guy.
So what Qualcomm has is the technology that talks from your phone to the tower. And so Dr. Irwin Jacobs thought, I'll just hire engineers and let them develop a product that would have our technology in it. When I came along, all engineers are almost like us PhD folks. We like to be in our own lanes and we don't like to be bothered. So what I found out is the engineers that I was working with didn't want to have anything to do with battery technology. Now let me tell you how ridiculous that is, because when you have a portable product, can you do it without some kind of energy? No, because you can't plug it in all the time, especially for those of you who have Teslas, you know how hard this is. But nevertheless, I thought, all right, I'm going to teach myself electrochemistry. And so I sat down and taught myself electrochemistry. If you'd like to come up to my office, you will see I have a patent that charges every one of your cell phones with the lithium-ion technology battery. Is it because I was a great electrochemist? No, far from it. Is it because I was the best engineer? No. I took the analytics, in other words, the data that said every phone had to have a battery. I looked at the volumetric energy density, so all of you that have small phones, you can thank me later, because lithium-ion technology was a smaller technology, and you could put it in a phone and make a phone smaller. Way back in the day, all of you guys that have man purses, that used to be my cell phone. Had a huge, gigantic battery that could have taken off. My whole left side of it blew up. And so we've gotten to where we are now. All of that is analytics and all of that is technology. Had nothing to do with telecommunications, because that wasn't my field of interest. I was a digital engineer. But nevertheless, to Ken Serena's point, if you pay attention to what's going on around you, it doesn't mean that you have to stay in that lane. There's many opportunities for you to expand. But if you can't think on your own, if you can't dissect and analyze what's in front of you, then you have stopped yourself. Your progress has completely stopped. How many of you guys have a new car? Raise your hands. How many of you guys paid for that new car? Yeah?
She's like, not me.
Can you tell me, what's your name? Yep. Caleb. Can you tell me what was written on the 3 long pages, yellow sheets, about the interest payment and all the money you're going to pay for that car? There you go. So even starting with something, I'm not making fun of Caleb, by the way, most people don't, but even starting with something as simple as that, analyze what you're getting yourself into. It doesn't have to stop at job employment, but I guarantee you, whatever your salary is, if you're wasting it on the 3 pages that you didn't see or didn't read, then you're really saying, okay, just dip into my salary as much as you want, okay? So there's all kinds of avenues. Buying your own house. I bought my first piece of real estate when I was 17. Analyzing the market. Everybody now, I have a real estate company, everybody now, oh, the interest rates are so large, even though they went down, what, 0.5 point or 3/4 point recently. But the market's good. The market's good. How do you know that? You analyze the market. Quit listening to what's on social media. Go out there and use that melon God's given you and really look into some opportunities. That's what it's for. And that's what we're trying to teach here in the School of Business. And these 3 panelists, their success has been based on that, analyzing what's in front of them. And even Mr. Sanchez here, he's not saying that, you know, he's the best thing since sliced bread, but what he's telling you, though, he's analyzed all this. You didn't say that, right? Okay. But he's telling you he's analyzed all these things, and he's looked at how he's serving people that are neurodiverse, serving those folks, taking and looking at what's in front of him and what he can give back. Very, very important. We're gonna kind of pare it down to about maybe 3 or 4 more questions, and then we'll close it up.
All right. Here's one. With the current job landscape being effectively referral only, how can we use analytics to find a job and internship opportunities?
Let me go back to the entrepreneurship thing. Okay. Protect yourself against a fluctuating job market by creating or developing skills for yourself that will allow you to make money for yourself, by yourself. It's never been easier to do ever in human history. It's never been easier to do. To establish a business, usually they're created online, a web-based business, that you can use to generate your own income. And you can do it on the side, like I do, and you can have another, like a main job. But in answer to that question, like I am not super afraid of a changing job market, because I believe I can make it even if no one's hiring. And you should protect yourself in that way too. Start now. Don't wait. Start now before you get to a job market that seems crazy and scary. Because ever since from 2008 on, there's been like crisis after crisis after crisis that your generation has had to deal with. And a lot of times they affect jobs, the job growth and job market. So I would say most certainly like use your skills to get a professional corporate job if that's what you want. And that's a completely okay goal. Like it's great. You should do that. But you should also give yourself the option of being able to make your own money on your own by yourself doing something on the side. And that's what I'll say. It's an insurance policy against bad job markets.
Can I add? That's yes. It's very good point on that as well. I want to add, as ESRI is always have the job posting. We also have the student summer internship and also the student assistantship. We have paid interns for 120 interns. But do you know how many students apply? 10,000. So the competition is very high now. But don't lose hope. Be positive, be confident. Okay? So there's a few things that I want to give. First is what you learn, not only enough at school. You need to learn by yourself as self-learning as well. There's so many things online that you can take and learn by yourself. Okay? That's the first thing. And the second thing as well is take opportunity. Any opportunity, if somebody can you help with this event? Can you do the volunteering here and there? Because as a company, we see like how creative you are, how much that you actually already do and going into the field that you want. Okay, and then the third thing is as well is embrace the technology. So ESRI sent me to many career fair, and it's the last one is the engineering and computer science. They're really good in computer science, C++, Python, and everything. But they say, do you know ESRI? No, I haven't really taken a look of ESRI. What if you want to apply? At least you know us, or try online, do some coding and put the map. Then we can at least know that you have intention to work for us. You know, that things like that, and also be confident and communicate well, regardless how smart you are. But if you're not telling me and you don't know really how to communicate well, we don't know. We don't know how you actually even communicate with our clients as well. So things like that, and networking as well. It's a lot of networking now, social media, or even at ESRI we have the young professional network, you know. So then you stand out, noticeable, and people start to thinking like, oh yeah, I meet you there, I meet you. So there's a few tips I think that can help.
Yeah, those are great tips. The other thing is, no matter what position you are within an organization, whatever job, whether it's preparing food or, like in our case, we have a young man who was a painter for us. He painted helmets. He worked at Taco Bell two and a half years ago. Today he's a marketing specialist because he took the time. Now, we do allow 30 minutes a day of personal development time. So we pay people to develop. But not everyone does it. He took advantage of that time, and he's doing much better. Our chief operating officer started as a part-time customer service representative for us. And so most of our positions have been promotional. So no matter what job you got at that employer, maximize the time and definitely take advantage of any learning opportunity. To kind of bridge into the networking comment, the referral is up to you. Gain the referral. So go to events like this, but don't just go, talk to people. Don't be a wallflower. When you go to something, talk to everybody. You never know who you're going to meet. And don't think I need to talk to the person in the fancy suit because that's the key person. You have no idea. In fact, this suit barely fit me because I wear cowboy boots and jeans every day. And you're looking for the connections. You have no idea. Maybe it's a sister that can get you into CBU or whoever's out there, but become the referral. That's going to be one of the most important things that's going to get you ahead in life. You may have a wonderful resume, but it's not going to live up to anything that you're going to get going to a networking event, chamber events, volunteer. That's a great way to meet people. And then, of course, the school events. So become the referral.
And be careful because that project team member that you just got mad at last week, that could be your next referral. Yeah. So be careful there.
All right. How does your worldview affect your work? And part B, why did you choose analytics as your career? So the first question
I think I answered the first part earlier, so I'm going to pass it on.
Yeah, that sounds like an ESRI question.
We have smarter people working.
I'm sorry. Repeat the question again, please.
How does your worldview affect your work? And part B was, why did you choose analytics?
Okay. So probably I started again with my background study. So I studied a landscape architecture. And as a landscape architecture, you have to really good in design. And I'm not really good in drawing, actually. Then I took my master in landscape planning. we do the regional planning. We find site suitability. And that's the one that they introduced me to these geographic information systems, that you take so many different like layer of data and infuse them together, and you find the site location based on all the criteria that put in all those data together. And I said, that's it. That's it. I fall in love with this technology. I fall in love with this analytic. I can see it easily on the map when you put things together and you infuse them together and you see the pattern, you see the trend and everything, compared with just use a spreadsheet of raw data. And that's become the determining factor that I say I want the career in using spatial analytics, using geographic information system. That one is 25 years ago. And that time it's not easy to find a job with GIS. I have to join the government, things like that. So that's why then I approached ESRI, and then ESRI looked for the talent that have the GIS skills. Then I get hired with ESRI and become GIS consultants. And then that's back in South Asia. And then after that, I moved to US and I become the instructor. So even between the technology, how I apply it, as an instructor, I teach many clients and many different courses. And the beauty of this is I travel so many places in US and internationally. Okay, well, like a few highlight is even they send me to Kabul, Afghanistan, with the United Nations to apply the GIS on there. Okay, I help the Jengudel. I have the orangutan for conservations. It was just like many things that you actually can infuse the analytical, you get the opportunity. One thing that you want is like, you need to like it. If you choose one of the analytic, you need to like it. The more you like it, the more that you actually pursuing that, and if you are really want it, you're gonna get it. Actually. You want to add?
Let's see. For Mr. Sanchez, can you share some or one story from your neurodiversity efforts and what other companies are doing important work in this area?
Oh, absolutely. I've got a great story, actually, I'll share. Actually, let me go back to the analytics and data. Everybody in our company is utilizing data. I've kind of downplayed that, but we use a lot of technology and very advanced for manufacturing. Even those with the most severe intellectual and developmental disabilities are using data and they're using technology. So definitely don't want you to think that that's not what we're doing. Here's a great story for you. So when we started our Opportunity for All program, 2 years ago today, we hired our first neurodiverse member. Now our entire business is not neurodiverse. We have a combination of neurodiverse and neurotypical. Although I don't think any of us are actually typical. I think we all have our own form of neurodiversity. But somebody diagnosed as such. And when this young man came in, he was scared of people. He was scared of society. He wore dark glasses, he had scream metal in his headphones, and he would sit in his workstation and not interact with anyone except for his job coach. And he would talk to me a little bit, but I was the first person that had met with him. Now, I had an aunt growing up with Down syndrome, and so I had definitely a special heart for him coming in, but he still barely talked to me. And he wouldn't interact with people. I couldn't put him in any other workstations. You know, we have an assembly line type thing, as you can imagine. We had to keep him by himself. He would stay there at lunch. He wouldn't talk to anybody. He didn't interact with anyone. Today, actually forget today, let's go back to 4 to 6 months after he started, he became the most social person we have. He sends out the most memes on our WhatsApp chats. By far, sometimes I'm like, you know, you can't send out that many every day. He goes to the gym by himself. He goes shopping by himself. The other thing is he never finished high school. He was bullied too much, and he actually never was able to complete high school. He completed his GED, and he actually took the ASVAB test. He wants to go in the military, and he scored very well. He will call or send, we use WhatsApp to communicate amongst the company. He will send out messages and say, I'm going to Albertson, does anybody need anything for tomorrow? He's part of society. And what we've looked at is what we've done with him and why we've expanded the program so greatly. The plan was just to hire him or somebody and just do a good deed in the community. Why we formed such a major program is we saw the impact we had. And that's a story of social mobility. Yeah, we provided some financial security for him, but what we've honestly done is we've created independence. We've given him the ability, and for his caretakers, to have actual independence. And that's one of several stories I could share, but I know we're on a time limit. As far as other employers go, it's a hard battle. So we created a program that targets hiring of neurodiverse and anyone that faces significant barriers to employment. So it's intellectual, developmental, physical disabilities, people from prison, things like that. The second was a work-study program. The third was writing a book so other employers know how to do it, because we couldn't find that book. The fourth, though, is finding employers, because there's a stigma that people with intellectual and developmental disabilities can't do the job. And unfortunately, the disability part of the equation is what's talked about, and what we look at is the ability part. I can tell you right now that most of the people we hired to this program remember things way better than I do. Their ability to take numbers and remember them months later is extraordinary. We're trying to get it to other employers to understand that they're the best. I mean, none of my other employees are here, right? They're the best employees we have. Efficiency rates at double the average. Never call in sick. Never late. No drama. That's the best part. Grateful to be there. And they're some of the hardest, most loyal people that you'll have. But employers still have a stigma. It's too much work. It may take a little bit longer to do the onboarding, but I've got the case study that shows it's the most effective thing you can do to your workforce. And think about it this way. I mean, all of us went to high school. There was probably a little bullying or a little bit of messing around with each other that took place. People are mean in a lot of cases, right? I hope none of you are. You're Cal Baptists. We're not built that way. But in society, people are mean. And even within our employee base, our culture was pretty strong already. But by providing these opportunities, everyone has become more patient, more loving, and more caring. And one quick story. I know I went off, but I'm so passionate about this project. I had an older gentleman, a little bit older than me, that works for us, been with us a long time, and he's got a little short temper. He'll let you know. So one day I went up to him a year or two ago, and I said, "Would you ever talk to one of our participants that way?" He says, "No, of course not." And I'm like, "Well, why not?" It's like, "Because they wouldn't understand." And of course, my initial response was, "Of course they'd understand. They're smarter than you are." But I don't know if that's true. But you know what I mean? What I told him, though, was the person that you just yelled at didn't understand. You hadn't communicated it to them in a way that they understood. There's no difference between the two of them. In both cases, they didn't understand. And since that day, that temper has, that fuse is miles long. He's got so much more patience for everybody. And so I preach to this because I want you to go tell everybody you know that employs people to reach out to me, because we've got the workforce of the future that we can help provide. Unemployment's less than 3% in some markets. There's a lot of opportunities for each of you, so it's not taking anyone's job away. But there's over 18,000 people in the Inland Empire that are similar to the people that are coming through our program. And when you see those help wanted signs out there, nobody can fill a position, send them my way.
No, that's great. All right, so we're gonna kind of close things up here. I'd like to be able to have each one of our panelists to have kind of a closing thought. So we're gonna start on the far end, Mark. Just give the students a closing thought, and then I'll go ahead and close us in prayer.
Well, first of all, I want to commend you for choosing CBU. I'm a fan, as you know. If you can stick around Riverside, if you can stay in this area with your skills and the degrees that you earn from this place, I would encourage you to stay, because Riverside needs you and your skill set and your intellect. There are tens of thousands of college kids in Riverside because we have 3 universities and a JC. But UCR has like 50,000 students, I think. It's insane. It's a little city. And a lot of us leave because, of course, we go to where the jobs are, where there's exciting opportunities or whatever. But consider staying around. That's my final thought for you. Consider staying around and investing in the community like I have. I was born and raised here. I wanted to leave. I wanted to get out and go to the big city, but I ended up staying, and I am really glad I did. and now I get to be a part of Riverside's success moving forward. And so if you are willing and able to, consider how you might use your skills and plant yourself right here in Riverside and stick around. That's it. Thank you so much.
So I will say, I stayed here. So I worked at Qualcomm. For those of you who don't know where Qualcomm is, it's in San Diego. I did that for 11 years from here because I love Riverside so much. Serena?
Okay. First of all, again, I'm really, really happy to get invited here. Thank you so much for the opportunity. One thing that I want to say, I'm always impressed with your generation. Your generations are so smart, and you have so much privilege and access to many things that we didn't have before. So opportunities a lot there. Of course, competition is high as well. There's a lot of opportunity there as well. And for the selfish reasons, when my company know I come here, that tell the business students that we need their skill in location analytics, please, because we have to supply them a lot of big company, Target, Walmart, Coffee, Nespresso, Starbucks, they're all hiring with that skill. So if it's not taking you from what you learn now, but it just gives you more advantage or added value when you graduate. And try it. The technology is here. It's called from ESRI ArcGIS, and see how the power. You probably like to see different trend in the data, different insight to the data than the one that you look normally. Okay, give it a try. Thank you.
Okay, so you heard it. You got to call her up and get a job. Angel?
One of our core values is, I'm going to relate to my advice. First is to be and stay humble. No matter where you're at in life, you always have something you can learn from somebody else. So stay humble. Ego's the worst thing that we can have, and I have a big ego, and everyone here probably has some form of an ego, but lose it as much as you can. Be curious. Ask a lot of questions. It's interesting. We have a rule. We have some kindergarten rules. One of them is ask 100 questions a day, because employers sometimes don't want you to ask questions. They expect you to know everything. No, be curious. Have big eyes, have big ears. The good Lord gave us 2 ears and 2 eyes and only 1 mouth for a reason. And that's so we listen and see twice as much as we speak. So be humble and be curious. And the last is be courageous. Get out of your comfort zone. We require a video resume to apply for our company, no matter what position. I don't even care what's on the video. If you apply, don't make it nice at least. But the reason I do it is because for 435 applicants for a customer service position, only 1 did a video. That person had courage. So be courageous. Take risk. Don't be afraid to move around the market. And from an employer search perspective, remember, your job shouldn't suck. So ask questions when you go to an employer. We require the video, but once you come in, we want you to come in at the beginning of the day and spend a few hours with us before we even interview. Because it's more important to me and to my leadership team that you want to work for us than we want you to work for us. Now, that's part of it, of course. If you have no idea what you're talking about or you're just a jerk, we don't want you. But it's important that you find a job that you can call home, that you can love. And don't be afraid to search for that. When you go to an interview, you're going to prep it, you're going to be nervous, you're going to have to answer questions. When they say at the end, do you have any questions? You should have a page written out. Those are usually the people I pick because I know they're courageous, I know they're curious, and of course, I'll pick up on the humbleness through the interview process. But have 100 questions for them because you want to make sure it's the right place. Otherwise, you're not going to thrive. If your job sucks, it doesn't matter what the pay is, you're not going to thrive. And pay is important to the level of security and comfort that you need, but just because it's a higher paying job, and we've lost people over the years to very big warehouse type companies around here that paid $3 or $4 more an hour, and 2 of the 3 came back. Now our pay isn't bad, but get to the point where you're comfortable that you can make a good living and then focus on a job that doesn't suck. Be happy because you're going to be spending a lot of time doing this and you're going to affect a lot of other lives in that process.
Awesome. So great wisdom from folks that started here at CBU, done some great things with their lives, and even more importantly, impacting people in the community. So let's give a round of applause for all these folks here. Okay, I'm going to close this in prayer, and then I'll let you guys get into all that weather that's outside. Heavenly Father, we thank you so much for the opportunity to come together and learn, Lord. Learn from those journeys, as you say in Jeremiah 29, that you put before these three folks up front here, and it is poured out and played out, and they were able to share that, Lord. And I pray that that wisdom would permeate each and every person in this room, and I pray that their journeys, as you have promised them as well, will play out. And in someday, Lord, their journeys that started here will be able to impact all others that they come in contact with. Lord, we love you. We thank you for your presence here tonight. We thank you for allowing us to put on this particular event. We thank you for each and every one of our students who we love and cherish and work so hard to bring an education to their front doors. And Lord, we just ask that you would watch over us and continue this journey for the Robert K. Jabb School of Business. In Jesus' holy name, amen. Thank you, everyone. Have a good night.